We're going to begin with the huge healthcare battle that has Congress totally wrapped up right now. We're joined by Darcy Burner. She's in charge of the American Progressive Caucus Policy Foundation. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here.
I want to play you first a little bit of sound from the Sunday shows yesterday. The White House advisors were out in force yesterday. And of course, this issue of the public option, which is sort of has become the crux for especially those on the left in this debate.
Indeed.
I want you to hear the words coming from the White House on the public option. Take a listen.
He's not demanding that it's in there. He thinks it's the best possible choice.
There will be compromise, there will be legislation, and it will achieve our goals.
He thinks it's important, but it doesn't define the entire process of health care.
Okay, so sounds like the White House, although they say they're in favor of it, clearly no red lines. They are clearly making sure they still have wiggle room on this. What do you say in response to those White House advisors?
Well, that's fairly straightforward. You can't pass a bill through the House of Representatives that doesn't include a public option. The votes aren't there. And we saw Senator Roland Burris actually draw a fairly bright line in the sand very recently, saying he will not vote for a bill that doesn't include a public option. I can hardly blame the members in the House and Senator Burris. It's an incredibly popular policy. It's good policy. It reduces costs, and it helps the American people.
But if that same cannot pass, well, the senators would say we cannot pass a bill through the Senate that includes a public option.
Oh, but clearly they can. There are all kinds of ways they can. We have 60 Democrats in the U.S. Senate.
All kinds of procedural ways or all kinds of ways to structure the public option?
All kinds of procedural ways. I mean, to be perfectly honest, if the White House wants a health care bill, the most straightforward way for them to get one is to apply pressure on the handful of Democratic senators that pressure needs to be applied on to have them support or at least not filibuster a public option. That's the most straightforward way for them to get the health care bill they need.
Except some of those senators have said that they cannot support the robust public option that is discussed in the House. Blanche Lincoln has said so. Ben Nelson has been suspect of without any kind of compromise whatsoever. Kent Conrad, who's meeting with President Obama today, the moderate from North Dakota, has been very clear that if it is tied to sort of Medicare payment structure, if it's that kind of public option, that kind of government-run insurance company, he will not support it. That means you don't have 60 votes.
Well, we certainly have 52, as Senator Harkin has repeatedly said, and it is possible to get this through with 52 as long as we don't have Democratic senators filibustering. The truth is we can't get it through the House without a public option. As you know, we have, I think at the last count, 64 House members who have said they simply will not vote for any health care bill that doesn't include a robust public option. And you can't get to 60 without a public option in the Senate either, because Burris has just said he won't do it.
A lot of folks think that this is all heading toward a trigger mechanism, where you have something kick in if the promised reforms don't do what they're supposed to do. Does that work? Is that a public option?
I think that whatever trigger would have been necessary has already been triggered. As Speaker Pelosi has said, the health insurance industry has failed this country. We've watched health insurance rates double for the American people in the last decade. How much worse does it have to get? We've got people going bankrupt. We've got people dying. What's the stat? 44.
So to be clear, the same cannot pass red line that you talk about, is that applied to something with a trigger? That doesn't cut it from your perspective.
That doesn't cut it from the perspective of the members of the House who have drawn the line. They have said they want a robust public option from day one.
But Darcy, I don't understand where the compromise is. I mean, I just heard the senior advisor to President Obama saying there's going to be a compromise in this health care bill. I don't hear where you're coming to the table and meeting the compromise on the publib option.
Why is it that the progressive should be the one to compromise? Why is it not
everybody
Conrad and
Isn't
Max
a compromise that everybody compromises? That everyone around the table comes to a compromise?
The progressives have already made a compromise. I mean, they would much rather have had single payer.
But that was never, ever part of the conversation.
But they would much rather have had single payer as their solution to the problem. And they started out by compromising to try to find something that it was possible to support with a majority in both houses of Congress. And they have done that. They've made their compromise. It's time for the other side to compromise.
So how do you pressure President Obama to make this happen?
Well, he wants the bill to pass. If he wants the bill to pass, it's going to have to include a public option. There's no other path.
Quickly, before we let you go, I want to turn to one other topic inside of healthcare, which is the paying for it side. And this idea that's also being resisted by a lot of progressives in the House of this Cadillac taxing Cadillac plans, these expensive health insurance plans. People are very concerned that it will actually sort of ensnare the middle class at a certain point and not just wealthy people. Are you guys also drawing a red line there that taxing Cadillac plans can't be included in a way to help pay for health care the way the Baucus bill does?
Well, certainly there isn't support for that in the House in general. It isn't just the progressives. I mean, the votes aren't there to pass that in the House. And so that, they'll have to come up with a different funding mechanism.
Any chance to run for Congress again?
I have promised my spouse I wouldn't run in 2010.
That's not 2012, 2015 or beyond.
Taking one cycle off, Darcy Burner, former congressional candidate out there in Washington State and now heading up this progressive effort on healthcare. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
ABC News Now. Good to know.